All right, what's going on, my friends? It's now 3 o'clock. Boy, Thursday night was a big-time W for the Trailblazers. They topped the Pelicans 118-106 and are now 9-3 in their last 8th in the Western Conference standings. They're a half game ahead of the Clippers. Portland will get 3 days now, 8th in the Western Conference standings. They're a half game ahead of the Clippers. Portland will get 3 days off in Denver to meet the Nuggets Monday. That game will tip off at 6. 4 games remaining for Portland on their schedule. At Denver Monday. Then they travel to San Antonio. They finish up at home with games next Friday against the Clippers and then the Kings on Sunday, April 12th. Final Four will kick off tomorrow at 3:09. Illinois and UConn. Illini are favored by 1.5. Michigan and Zona follows Wolverines, a 1.5-point favorite. Join me at Spirit Mountain Casino. I'm going to be live noon to 3. I'll have giveaways. There'll be food and drink specials with all of the action. Spirit Mountain Casino, where the action never stops. Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio. Bino going to join me at 4:20.
Live from the Coors Light Studios, it's time for the Rip City Drive, hosted by the crazy and often irrational Chad Doing. Coors Light, mountain cold refreshment. Choose chill.
Holiday backs it up, wants to answer back with a 3, and does! 103-94. Drew Holiday knocks down the triple. He's got 21. Denny wants to back down Fears. Gets to the baseline, turns around and looks for Holiday. Another three-pointer. Buries it. 6th of the night for Drew Holiday. He's got 13 threes in the last 2 games.
Drew Holiday is keeping pressure on the Pelicans.
Game high, 24 points for Drew Holiday. 106-96. Blazers back in front by 10. Holiday continues his dribble near center court. Screen from Williams, down to 9. Brings it up top. Williamson defends him. Bounces off of him, down to 5. Backs it up. Three-pointer. Buries it. 27 for Drew Holiday. And the Blazers have their largest lead of 11 points. The 14th 3 in 2 games for Drew Holiday. 116-105.
Strap in. The Rip City Drive with Chad Doing starts now.
All right, if memory serves correct, I think that's Lindsey Buckingham. All right, if memory serves correct, I think that's Lindsey Buckingham of Fleetwood Mac. Holiday Road. And Shacker knows how to please on a Friday. Well, what's going on, my friends? I was driving in today, and, I've been so used to getting dressed for the cooler temperatures that we've had over the last couple of months. I overdressed today, and I got hot. I started sweating on my way into work. You know what that means? Golf season is almost here. The weather's awesome outside right now, and I think the next couple of days are going to be nice. Needless to say, I'm feeling pretty good on a Friday, even though I got home late last night after the Trailblazer game. And what a night it was for the Trailblazers. I have to admit, the last 48 hours, last few days have been pretty awesome. We got that win down in L.A. against the Clippers on Tuesday, and that was with new owner Tom Dundon in attendance. And then they went out there and played arguably their best game of the year, and they kicked the Clippers' ass, which I love because I don't like the Clippers or their red-faced, freaky owner, Steve Ballmer. Hey, why is your face so red, and why do you look like you want to kill somebody right now? I know you love sports, but geez, settle down, you weirdo. So anyways, that was a great win, and it was a team effort where so many different guys stepped up and made contributions. And then we had the press conference yesterday at 3. The Rip City Rising ownership group was there. Tom Dundon had a chance to speak. The entire group did, and they kind of set a direction for the franchise. And I will play a couple of those clips throughout the show today, but it's a new day, a new era, and the franchise finally has direction. They're no longer a rudderless ship. And I don't say that to throw the trust under the bus. But here's the truth about a trust, and I think you all know this. Anytime a team is being run by a trust, their main focus is to make sure that they keep everything in order to get the team sold, to find the next owner. So they're never really focused on what's coming up in the future, what's down the road, the vision, the plan. Because they're focused on the here and now to make sure everything's in order for the new owner. And one thing that's very certain after hearing from Tom Dundon yesterday is that they're going to come in with focus. I think they have a direction. They want to win, and they're going to make all the adjustments that they deem necessary to improve the operation. The fan experience, obviously the arena is going to get some upgrades, but also to make sure that the best possible roster's on the floor. So finally, the team has direction. They've got an ownership group. They have a person who's going to be the singular individual in charge. And I think that type of focus is really good. So if you're a Trailblazer fan, you should be feeling great today. The Blazers are playing good basketball right now. They got the win over the Pelicans last night. They're 9-3 in their last 12. They're now alone in 8th in the Western Conference playoff standings, which means if they can keep that position between now and the end of next week, they will have to win one game to get into the playoffs. And that's great. But last night was nice because I was really gripping about that game. You know, anytime you have a lot of off-court distraction going on, and the Blazers certainly had that with the new ownership group being introduced, you're coming off your biggest win in probably 5 years at least. And then all of a sudden you got to come back home to host the Pelicans, a team with just over 20 wins on the year, not a good basketball team. It's a classic letdown spot. And the reason why I was nervous is that as well as the Blazers have played throughout the course of the season, they haven't really shown a lot of consistency in being excellent night in and night out. You know, they have some letdowns, whether it be with their defense or the offensive rebounding or turnovers. They just have lacked consistent greatness throughout the course of the year. So I was concerned that there might be a bit of a letdown. And that did take place a bit in the second quarter. And the Blazers got down by double digits, but then they roared back. And what I love about that second half, it was the defense that sparked that entire turnaround. The points off turnovers in the third quarter, different guys stepped up throughout the game to knock down big shots. Tamani Kamar's three-point shooting in the first half kept them within striking distance. And then the work of Drew Holiday and Denny Avdia in the second half was great. I got really concerned for about 10 seconds when Avdia slipped and went to the floor in the second half. But fortunately, he avoided serious injury. He came back in the game and was terrific. And Drew Holiday, you know, a lot of people were curious as to why the Blazers would add him, acquire him at his age and his price. But when I talked to people, you know, around the organization before the season, they got him for a variety of different reasons. One, because he literally is the best guy in the NBA. Great for your locker room, leadership. He's going to represent the franchise in the way that you want. So that's important. Work ethic. He is a winner and has won championships and knows what it takes to win. And on the floor, he doesn't require the basketball in his hands to make an impact. So that would allow him to be on the floor with Scoot or Denny, other facilitators, and still be able to make an impact. But most importantly, they brought him in because they thought he would help them win games. And look at it now. Last two games, in LA against the Clippers, he had a game-high 30 points and hit 7 threes. And last night, game-high 27 points, had 9 assists. He's helping them win games, and not just games, but the biggest games of the year. So Drew Holiday was terrific, but last night was very similar to what we saw on Tuesday. Everyone who had a chance to play outside of Sidy Cissoko made an impact. When Cissoko gets a full head of steam with the basketball in his hands, I just close my eyes. I love his energy and his effort, but I don't trust him with the basketball in his hands at full speed. A little bit out of control. Just a tad, wee bit out of control. But it was a great game. And the Blazers now in control because the Clippers, after being white hot, have suddenly stubbed their toe. And they got worked by the Spurs last night. And they shouldn't feel bad about that. San Antonio is wrecking everyone right now. What are they, like 25-2 in their last 27 games? Didn't see that one coming. They look great. So the Clippers lose, the Blazers win, and now they're in full control of everything. So I'll get into the scenarios and let you know what needs to happen. But I think more than likely, and it's not 100% based on who the Clippers play, but if the Blazers can go 2-2 with a win over the Clippers next Friday, more than likely they're going to be the number 8 seed in the play-in tournament and only need one win to get into the postseason. And there you have it. I would like them to make life easier and find a way to get a split with these two road games coming up in Denver and against San Antonio, but that's a tall order. They haven't won a regular season game in Denver since 2016, early 2016, and San Antonio is just simply one of the best teams in basketball right now. But that's what the Blazers have coming up this week. It's going to be great Big games and the young core is getting a chance to play in meaningful moments, and they're only going to get better because of that. When you play in big moments and you play in more pressure-packed situations, these are experiences that the young guys can learn from and be able to apply as they continue to move forward. And in my lifetime, most NBA champions had to go through a refining fire in playoff basketball before they got over the hump. It's very rare where you see a team come out of nowhere, win a championship. You normally have to suffer defeat in the postseason before you learn how to get over the hump. That's why I'm very suspect on San Antonio winning the championship this year. I don't doubt that they're good enough, and they've got great star power in Wemby, but they have no playoff experience. And when they get into those big moments against a team like Oklahoma City, I think they'll come up just short. The other teams have experience: Denver, Minnesota, the LA Lakers, but they have great deficiencies. The Spurs and the Thunder, much more sound on both ends of the floor. But the playoffs should be good. But this is fun, man. We're in a playoff race. We got new ownership and a lot of things to celebrate. Now, coming up on the show today, Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio, he'll come on and celebrate the fact that he hit not one but two wagers on the Blazers' win total for the season. He got them at the line, the 34.5, and then he bought an adjusted line at 38.5, and he cashed in on both because I told him to. I said, look, just to letting you know right now, and this is before the season began, Vegas is undervaluing the Blazers. They've got a good young core. They're going to exceed expectations. They're going to win 40-plus games. He's like, that makes a lot of sense. So he went and jumped on it, and then like 2 days later, the coach was taken away by the FBI. And Noe was like, what's going on? So we'll talk with Noe, but he cashed in on not one but two overs for the Blazers. We'll also talk Final Four. Those games tomorrow are going to be awesome. Now, tomorrow, I'm going to be down at Spirit Mountain Casino inside of the BetMGM Sportsbook from noon until 3. And the sportsbook manager is going to join me. And then after the show is over, we can sit back and watch the finals. The sportsbook manager is going to join me. And then after the show is over, we can sit back and watch the Final Four to see who's going to play for the championship. UConn and Illinois is the first game right now. The Illini favored by 1.5. And the second game are the 2-1 seeds, Michigan and Arizona. And right now the Wolverines a 1.5-point favorite. And then the title game is on Monday. So come on down to Spirit Mountain Casino tomorrow. And right now they've got Spring into the driver's seat, which are the daily drawings throughout the entire month. The top prize winner from each daily drawing gets invited back at the end of the month of April, and one person's going to walk away with a brand new 2026 Stingray. So you can come down, hang out with me. We get set up for the Final Four. We watch the games. We got drawings, everything you could possibly want. And if you want to get in on the action with those two games, parlays, teasers, totals, futures, you name it, they've got everything you could possibly want. So that's coming up tomorrow, noon to 3. I'll be at Spirit Mountain Casino. I want to hear from you. You had a chance to see the press conference, some of the comments from Tom Dundon and his team. What's your takeaway? Do you like it? Are you excited? What do you think about this new ownership group? And more importantly, what's it like for you to experience a playoff push for the first time in many seasons here in Portland? I think it's awesome. 503-248-0620. Michael Shacker is with me. Man, it's a Friday. Let's have fun. Let's celebrate this. It's a good day, and the weather's awesome. You got the Rip City Drive. This right here is one of the best 2-minute songs in the history of mankind. Boss Skaggs, It's Over. It's like 2 minutes in length, but so good. Brahim, my man, just reached out to me. He's like, didn't you predict 45 wins this year? I did. I am the only one in the Portland media that was willing to see what the Blazers were going to be all about. I said 45 wins. Now they're going to fall just a little bit short. They're going to finish probably with like 42, 43. But nobody else is willing to put a number on it. And that's why I hate it when people talk about predictions. And you'll hear a lot of people do that now when the season's over. Like, oh, I had them going 40 plus. No, what they do is they're like, yeah, they should be somewhere between 35 and 40 wins. But no, I had them at 45. And think about that. They're going to hit 42, 43 wins, being among the league leaders in games lost due to injury. So I think my projection was pretty much spot on. And I'll recap my projections once the season's over. But, the Blazers they've done what they've had to do. They've taken advantage of the way the schedule is laid out. It was really rough to start the year, and then the injuries mounted. But as they've gotten healthier and the schedule's lightened up over the last part of the season, they've done a good job of beating up on some of the scrubs they've faced. And like it always happens in the NBA, you're going to win games that you shouldn't win, and you'll lose some games that you should have won. It all balances out. Like the game last Friday against Dallas, they had no business losing that game, but they had turnover issues. They were minus 22 in points off turnovers and did not play a good game, and they got beat. But they come back and get the win in LA against the Clippers, a game that you probably should not have won as sizable underdogs, but they got the job done. It all balances out. But the bottom line is that this team is moving in the right direction. It's moving in the right direction. Now, Tom Dundon, the new owner, yesterday at the press conference was asked, he wants to win. So how do you go about doing that in the NBA? Is it about making a big splash with a trade? Is it through the draft? How do you go about getting the team where you want it to be? And the question was asked by Dan Marang. Here's what his response was.
It's really difficult in these situations to have an actual plan. I think our plan is to work hard, make good decisions. And Joe had a deal that he looked at the trade deadline that I was aware of that would have been what you described as a big splash. And if that opportunity exists, I'm probably more aggressive than most. If it doesn't exist, then you got to go about finding the pieces to continue to get better, and then decide if you can get good enough to win a championship, or you have to take a step back. So I don't think, Joe and I have talked about this a lot, there's no one way this is going to go for sure. If we get a star, we have a chance to win. If we can't find a star, then we got to add some pieces and hope some things develop. And if that doesn't work, then we got to try again with a new plan. And I think there's equal chances for all those things to happen.
All right, so that's pretty exciting. He's going to be aggressive in opportunities or situations where they could possibly go out and improve. In other words, he'll probably take a swing for the fences occasionally. And I've wanted that for a long time. Don't be afraid to take a shot. When you're in a position where you have maybe an opportunity to go out and compete for a title, but it's going to require a gutsy move, don't be afraid to swing for the fences occasionally. I will forgive teams for swinging for the fences, even if they miss, if you were doing it because you thought they had a chance to win a title. Like, I love that kind of aggressiveness. And I heard from a number of people, Blazer fans, people who have been in this area for a long time yesterday, they were very excited about what they heard from Tom Dundon. I like the way he presented himself. I like the fact that he's kind of a no-nonsense type of guy. I think he spoke from the heart, and I think he delivered his message well. Sean Highkin thinks that the Rip City Rising group won the press conference, and I would agree with that. Now, again, winning a press conference is nice, but you got to back that up with actions. But I'm telling you, you get a new guy like this to come in, you've got this ownership group that wants to win, and now he can put his imprint on the franchise. He's going to expect a lot from his players, his front office staff, his coaches, the rest of the employees on the business side, anyone that works for the organization. There's going to be some shakeup because he's going to have lofty expectations, and that will bring pressure. But those are the type of things that can create a winning organization. and the type of culture he's looking for. And the other thing, too, is that he did acknowledge this, and this is credit to the previous regime. I think when he came in, unlike what he experienced in Carolina with the Hurricanes, he realized that this franchise had a lot of good pieces in place in the front office, with the coaches, with the locker room and the guys who are in the locker room on the team right now. Like, they've got some pieces to work with. He's not taking over a complete disaster. Joe Cronin's done a heck of a job of, restocking the cupboard and putting them in a position where they can make things happen. And that's a good thing, because now they can enter into the offseason. They got tools to work with to continue to improve this team. And they'll get Dame back. So, yeah, I think the future's bright. But in the meantime, we got to deal with what's coming up over the next few games. But essentially, if you look at the remaining schedule for the Clippers and the remaining schedule for the Blazers, it would appear that if everything goes according to what's on paper, if the Blazers beat the Clippers at home next Friday and they take care of business in the finale against the Kings, where they're going to be favored by 15 to 20 points, more than likely Portland will be the 8th seed in the Western Conference play-in standings. Then you play Phoenix on the road down in the Valley for a chance to go to the postseason. And that's really where we're at. The Blazers are in a great spot now based on the way things have played out ever since Tuesday night with the win over the Clippers. And with LA's loss last night to the Spurs and Portland's win over the Pelicans, the Blazers now control their destiny for the 8th spot in the Western Conference. But I do like what I heard from the ownership group. Direction, focus, a desire to win, a willingness to spend to make that happen, and a new energy around the franchise. The other thing that jumped out yesterday, too, is that this team's not going anywhere. They're going to remain here. And the arena renovations, it sounds like they're going to start pretty quick. And it's all about one thing, just getting the funding from the state, the city, and the county. And I think everything's going to be okay. He was also asked about what type of ownership style. And I think it was Ann Peterson from the Associated Press that asked this question, but are you going to be hands-on, hands-off, delegate? How does that work? Here's what Tom Dundon had to say.
I don't know that it's not that cut and dry. You can be involved and delegate. You can be hands-on and also trust people. I don't trust anyone to make decisions without information and getting. Joe and I have had a lot of talk about this, and he actually does it. But there's coaches and there's scouts, there's analytics. There's a lot of people involved with running these businesses, making decisions. I don't expect to be the decision maker because the process creates obvious answers, but I'll push really hard to go through a process that doesn't leave anyone out and doesn't miss any variables.
I've never had an issue with an owner that wants to be heavily involved. I've never bought into the idea that you spend $4.25 billion on something and then you're like an absentee owner. That seems crazy to me. He'll be involved, but he just wants people to make sure they're going through the processes that they have in place to make sure they're arriving at the best possible decision based on the information they were given to make good choices. Now, the other interesting thing that came up, and I like this, he was pretty much asked, like, hey, is the team going to stay in Portland? Will it be here? Take a listen.
It's interesting how when I bought the hockey team, everybody, because I was from Texas, I was going to move the team to Houston. It's all I ever heard about, but I never spent any time on that subject. And I haven't spent any time on anything other than trying to figure out the renovation and the lease, and it's kind of all I've focused on. So anybody who would, you're welcome to write what you want, because if we get attention for the Portland Trailblazers, I appreciate it. But at this time, all I'm focused on is how do we get a lease done and how do we get the building renovated.
And I'll just add, Tom would not have asked me to join this group had that been on the table. And so I just want you guys to know, we're optimistic people. We met with the mayor today. We know that the state has done some amazing work on this also. We're full speed ahead.
Yeah, in other words, the team's not going anywhere. But I never thought that was going to be an issue anyways. I've known for a long time that the NBA wants a team in Portland. They do not want to have the team move. Regionally, it makes sense because Seattle's going to have a team here in the near future with the Sonics. And Portland's been a very successful NBA city for a long time. So this is good news. It's all good. The team's going to stay here. And then the arena renovations, I'm excited about that. with the work that's going to be done. And it's going to make the experience at Moda Center even better. So this is a win for all of us. I'm excited about where the team's at going into the final week of the regular season. I'm excited about the ownership group, and I'm just looking forward to see how things play out. You can reach out to me, 503-248-0620. I would just like to know from you, like, what were your impressions? What was your takeaway? I talked to a lady this morning that did not like his comments about how he wasn't going to show up to watch games unless the team was winning. And I understood exactly what he was talking about. We've seen a lot of these owners and executives that they can't sit and watch their team play because it drives them crazy. And he said that he didn't want people to see him freaking out or the look of concern on his face, and they take pictures of him. I respect that. Jerry West is one of my favorites, and he couldn't even watch the Lakers play. He had to stand in the tunnel because he was gripping too much. So I understand that. And heck, Mark Cuban probably should have done that too. It drove him crazy with the bad calls from the officials, his team losing or whatever the case may be, and he would start acting like a weirdo out in the arena. Remember when he started, when he got upset at Blazer fans? He's like standing up in the arena taunting the Blazers and their fans inside of Rose Garden, and then someone throws something at him and he gets butthurt about it. It's like, hey, idiot. I'm not encouraging people to throw things at you, but if you're going to stand up and act like a fool in our building and start taunting the fans, what do you expect to happen? Idiot? Shut up, Cuban. That drove me crazy. It's like, yeah, you're acting like an idiot in our building. Someone might take exception to your act. Don't be surprised when they lob a piece of popcorn at you or whatever, moron. So anyways, I understood that. But the bottom line is, if I can just sum this up for you, the team is no longer in the trust or in the care of the trust. They have an ownership group that has a plan, that has focus, that wants to win, and is going to be willing to spend to make that happen. That's everything you need in an owner right there. And now it's just a matter of, piecing it together. Now, the question is, what will he do with the coaching staff? I don't know. I would guess that based on the way things have gone and some of the whispers I've heard, I think the basketball operations staff will stay, very much the same, close to what it is now, because it's running very well. And that's great, because I'm down with Joe Cronin, and I want him to continue to be a part of that. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Blazers, they're going to get a few days off, so they don't play tonight, tomorrow, or Sunday, but they'll be in Denver on Sunday, on Monday evening. And I don't know why the NBA did this, but what are you doing scheduling a basketball game on the night of the national title game? It irritates me that they're doing that, because now I got to go back to Moda Center, and I won't be able to sit and just watch the college basketball title game uninterrupted. They shouldn't do that. Let the college kids have their night and then put the NBA games on a different day. But the Blazers are going to be in Denver on Monday, where they haven't won a regular season game since 2016. And then they go to San Antonio, one of the hottest teams in basketball. And then after that, they will come back home. I guess what I want is, I want the Blazers to handle business in a way to where when we're back here in Portland next Friday, getting ready for the Clipper game, that game means everything. It means everything. That winner take all in that game, because we know they're going to beat the Kings in the season finale. So here's what I mean by if everything plays out the way it's supposed to with the Clippers and the Trailblazers. So we'll start with the Clippers here first. So if you look at the standings, right now, Portland, they have played one more game than the Clippers. They are 40-38, the Blazers are. They're a half game in front of the Clippers, who are in ninth. The Clippers right now are 39-38. So they have the same number of losses, but Portland's got one more win. And the Clippers play one additional game. They have 5 games remaining. Portland's got 4. So if we look at the Clippers' schedule right now, with that extra game, the Clippers coming up here are going to play at Sacramento on Sunday. So you assume that that's a win. Then they're back home to face the Mavericks on Tuesday. You would assume that that is a win. That's 2. And then they host Oklahoma City on Wednesday the 8th. Now, on paper, that would be an L, a loss, based on the way the Thunder are playing right now. And then they finish out the year against Golden State on April 12th. So if you go according to paper, that would give the Clippers 3 more wins, which would put them at 42 for the year. Now, the Trailblazers, they've got 4 games remaining. And if you look at it on paper, the games that they should win, they go at Denver, at San Antonio, home against the Clippers, home against the Kings. We know that they're going to beat the Kings, and that puts them at 41. If the Clippers win the 3 games that they're supposed to win, that would put them at 42. And then you've got the Blazers and Clippers in that all-time showdown next Friday. So more than likely what's going to happen is when we get to next Friday for the Clippers and Blazers, that game will be for all the marbles to determine who's going to be the 8th seed in the Western Conference play-in tournament. And the reason why the 8th seed is so important is because if you're in the 7-8 play-in game, you only need to win 1 game to get to the postseason. If you are in the 9-10 matchup, you have to win 2 games. And if they're in the 7-8 matchup, they'll play Tuesday after the regular season. If they're in the 9-10, they play Wednesday. So just keep that in mind. All right, we'll keep things rolling here on the Rip City Drive. I appreciate your time on this Friday. 503-248-0620. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the new ownership group. What were your takeaways from the press conference? Reach out and let me know. And I'll be at Spirit Mountain Casino tomorrow from noon to 3. Join me. I'll have giveaways. There'll be food and drink specials. And the first game is going to tip off just after 3 o'clock, UConn and Illinois. Now, Brian O, Fox Sports Radio, going to join me coming up at 4:20. All right, Tony out and boring chimes in. He says playoff experience is going to be great for us. What's most impressive to me is Tamani Kamara is officially a 3-and-D forward. Scooter's improving with every game. Donovan Clingan has become a top 5 center, and Denny Avdi is an all-star. And, oh, yeah, by the way, Damian Lillard is going to be back next year. The future is bright. Boy, Tamani Kamara, you're right about that, Tony. His three-point shooting in the first half last night was critical to the Blazers being in a position to, strike back and get back in that game and really take control of the game. His three-point shooting was money. Tamani Kamara is a fabulous player. He struggled to start the year from distance, but as he's kind of settled in and gotten comfortable, he's really played well. And what makes it so impressive with the way he's been able to turn up the offense lately is that nobody plays harder than Tamani Kamara. I did not know this, but offensive charges drawn, he's got the record for that in a season. He's unbelievable at taking charges, like the best in the game. It's not even close. But he also leads the league in miles traveled on defense, so the guy's always on the move running, working his tail off, and he's one of 5 guys in the NBA to play and start every single game this year. So he's an Iron Man. And what I like about him is that he took it personal. He didn't want to be known as just a defensive stopper, so he wanted to make sure he continued to grind and work on his offensive game to be able to make an impact on that end because he knew that's what would take him into a different stratosphere, and he's been able to do that. His three-point shooting is critical, and he was big time last night. Even when Denny Avdia exited the game after slipping down, he had that sweet and one opportunity on the pick and roll. I love everything about Tamani. And he's a good guy, fits the culture. Yeah, Tamani's awesome. Scoot Henderson has shown flashes of brilliance. Last night was interesting. He had a decent game, but his defense, he was getting eaten up by Jeremiah Fears. And I loved it because Coach Splitter was on his ass. I mean, he didn't have a good defensive game, and Splitter was on him big time. And I like that, man. I like to see the fieriness from the coach. Like, hey, you're not getting the job done. So he pulled him from the game a couple times. But Donovan Clingan's a stud, and then Denny Avdia is a legit all-star. Yeah, I like the young guys. It doesn't matter whether they get through the plan or not. What matters is that they're getting great experience. And I want them to get into the playoffs so they can get a taste of what playoff basketball is all about, because it's not the same. With the preparation time, the way that the opposing team's coaching staff will game plan you, it's like jumping into a pressure cooker. It's a totally different game. Now, I wanted to share these numbers with you. I came across a video, and I would encourage you to check out Barry Bonds' Pro Baseball Reference page. Barry Bonds, the best baseball player in my lifetime, but this video was great because it listed just a few of his stats. If you go check out his Pro Baseball Reference page, it's truly remarkable that this guy is not in the Hall of Fame. It's insanity, actually. So check this out. Just some numbers to illustrate how great Barry Bonds was. Over 1,000 more walks than strikeouts for Bonds in his career. He had 575 plate appearances against Hall of Famers. He hit .292 with just 7 strikeouts. So wrap your mind around that one. 575. 575 plate appearances against Hall of Fame pitchers. He hit .292 with just 7 strikeouts. He was walked 41 times with the bases empty. That's insane. 26.3% of all Barry Bonds plate appearances ended with either a home run or a walk. And then when he really reached his peak, from 2001 to 2004, Bonds played 573 baseball games. He reached base in 539 of them. 94% of the games he played during that stretch of 573 games he got on base. Like, that is unreal. He's a Hall of Fame player. But I just love those little tidbits that you come across. And so I was really thinking about that the other day. Like, who is the best baseball player in my lifetime? It's Bonds. I've never seen anything quite like him. A very unique player. And I'm just glad I had a chance to see him play in a World Series. Great player. Which of those numbers is most impressive? Over 1,000 more walks and strikeouts, 575 plate appearances against Hall of Famers. He hit .292 with just 7 strikeouts, walked 41 times with the bases empty. He was also walked more than once with the bases loaded. 26.3% of all of his plate appearances in it with a home run or a walk. And then from 01 to 04, 39.5% of all at-bats in it with a home run or a walk. Also, during that span, 573 games, he reached base in 539 of them, meaning 94% of the games he played between 2001 and 2004, he got on base. Amazing. Now, I did go and see him, I think it was 2005. My buddy Steve and I went to go see him in Colorado against the Rockies. He didn't have a big game, but it was just great to see him, up at the plate and get some cuts in. I mean, most of you who are around my age, we've been very fortunate with some of the players that have been in all sports in our lifetime. Wayne Gretzky in hockey, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Kobe, LeBron. Like, just think about all the different athletes we've had over the last, 30. Appreciate your time on this Friday. Bino, Brian O, Fox Sports Radio, going to join us at 4:20. Time on this Friday. Bino, Brian O, Fox Sports Radio, going to join us at 4:20. And then at 5:20, we're going to head down to Eugene. Matt Rickert is going to join us as the Hops get ready to kick off their season. And don't forget, coming up on Tuesday, which is April 7th, the Hops will open up their brand new ballpark out in Hillsboro. Tickets are still available. You can get those at hillsborohops.com. But I'm looking forward to being out there on Tuesday. I'll be out there to do the Rip City Drive 3 to 6, and then John Sukanik and I are going to do a Catch 365 before the game on the field. All right, I appreciate your time. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. And Brian O going to stop by and talk some ball coming up at 4:20. All right, what's going on, my friends? It's now 4 o'clock. Well, it was a big Thursday for the Blazers. They topped the Pelicans 118-106. They're now 9-3 in their last 12 games. And the Clippers dropped another home game, this time to the Spurs. The Blazers are now 8th in the Western Conference standings, a half game ahead of the Clippers. The Blazers get 3 days off. They'll be in Denver Monday to meet the Nuggets. Game will tip off at 6. 4 games left on the schedule: at Denver, at San Antonio, and then home against the Clippers and Kings next Friday and Sunday. Final 4 tomorrow kicks off at 3:09. Illinois and UConn. Illini favored by 1.5. Michigan and Arizona will follow. Wolverines a 1.5-point favorite. Join me tomorrow at Spirit Mountain Casino. I'll be live noon to 3 in the BetMGM Sportsbook. I'll have giveaways. There'll be food and drink specials, and we can check out all of the action. Spirit Mountain Casino, where the action never stops. Brian Noe coming up at 4:20. All right, Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio, is going to join me coming up at 4:20. I just found this slip. I ate an entire box of these chicken noodle bowls I got from Costco. 12 of them, only to find out that each and every one of the bowls I ate were on recall, because I guess there was some type of a situation in a plant with glass, and they were afraid that glass might be in the bowl. I ate every single one, did not discover an issue, but I love that I read the notice after the fact. Thank goodness there wasn't like poison in there or something. And that's happened before, too, where I've purchased like a box of nutrition bars from like Amazon, and then you get the notice after the fact. It's like, hey, morons, I just ate half the box. Why am I getting this notice now? Anyways, no problem. I didn't notice any glass, no issues like that. So I was happy about that. But you ever had that happen? You get the notice. This is on recall. Do not eat the product. You can bring it back. We'll give you a refund. Hey, I already ate the product. Thankfully, I'm not dead. They probably just put that out there. I don't know how it works exactly, but don't a lot of these big plants where you produce like foods, like there's a lot of cross-contamination with a lot of that stuff? I've never gotten one with glass in the product or potential glass in the product, but my guess is that kind of stuff happens more often than we care to know about. So I thought that was pretty funny. Also, I would say that right now on my nutrition bar list, I got to put the Perfect Bar up at the top. The dark chocolate peanut Perfect Bar is number one. That's an elite bar. And I'm always looking for nutrition bars. I just get irritated because a lot of them are garbage. And I've tried every one. So there's not a nutrition bar I'm not a fan of. But someone here in the office just gave me a Built Bar. And I've seen them. I think they sell them at Target and some different places. It's very average. I ate it, but it's like, not great. Not awesome. But I would say the Perfect Bar, dark chocolate peanut. Now, don't buy them. If you're at Starbucks, don't buy them because they charge you like, I don't know, $4, $4.50 a bar or whatever. That's absurd. But you can get them now. A lot of times Target will have a good sale on them. The price at Trader Joe's, very reasonable. You get them for about $2 a bar. But that's usually what I do every morning. I go Perfect Bar with my cup of coffee. And I was talking with Shacker. I was like, is there anything you spend money on that you know you're overspending, but you really enjoy it? And he used gas. He's like, I buy gas. But gas is like a necessity. Like for most of us, like I drive to a lot of different places. I need to buy gas. I don't have a choice. I don't have to go down to the bottom of the hill every morning and get a cup of coffee, my 5-shot Americano. But I do it because I just enjoy there's a certain hedonic value to going in and getting your cup of coffee, even though I pay or overpay for the coffee. I love the 5-shot Americano. And when I go in, like this morning, I know the baristas, so I talk with them for a bit. But then I got the old guys at the corner table, And I always like to go over and talk to Lee and his crew. So I enjoy the process. So I was just trying to think about that. But I would say for me, coffee, that's probably the big thing where if I didn't go every day, I could save dollars, but I really enjoy the process of going. I really do. And I would say right now, I mentioned it before, but Spitz, I went there the other night with my buddy Josh. That's one of my favorite places to eat right now. There's a location over there in North Portland. It's a Mediterranean cafe. I had the vegan wrap the other night. That's one of my favorite items on the menu, but nothing can compare to the beef lamb gyro. And then I go with the Greek salad. I like that spot. Nice little hang there. You know, right there off Killingsworth, like probably about 15 years ago, they used to have a lot of great local spots. Sagittarius is one of my favorites. They were owned by a husband-wife team. They made their own sangria. They made their own chicken pot pie, which was amazing with the crust. They made sliders, which are delicious. They created their own ketchup. They would always do everything fresh with like fresh ingredients. And then Beaterville, the old Beaterville Cafe. I mean, if you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. But that was a great breakfast spot. The old guy is kind of a balding old man, funny dude. He decorated the place really creatively with like old car parts and stuff like that. But that was a good breakfast spot back in the day. And I would go there a lot when I was working, when I used to bartend over at Tom's Pizza. And Tom's Pizza was a great spot too until I started working there. And you know, it is once you start working at a restaurant, you don't want to frequent it. But they had the great happy hour. But you know, like everything else, it changes. But that Spitz is right there and almost in the same spot where Beaterville was at. But it's good. I don't know if they're kind of a chain. They've got one here. I think they've got one or two down in L.A. So there's a few locations. The spot that I'm looking or that I want to move is there's a place down in Arizona that I'm hoping will move up north where they do like healthy food with the bowls and different things. Chop Shop. That's one of my favorites. Chop Shop is great, but I don't see them up here. Only down in the valley. But if you found a good local spot, hit me up and let me know. I like going out. That's one of my favorite things to do is going out and finding, you know, local eateries. And it could be fancy or it could be, you know, like a food cart or it could be a burger spot. I just like finding those type of local spots, you know, that, you know, some people know about, but not everyone knows about. But usually here in Portland, when you find a local spot, what makes it unique is one, usually the service is really good. But most importantly, it's the fresh ingredients and then the access. A lot of the restaurants have good relationships with the local farmers, too. I just enjoy that. And we're now getting ready to enter into the nice weather, or at least the nice part of the season to where the weather's going to be nicer and the days are going to be longer. And so it promotes, you know, getting out and bumping around and checking out some of these new spots, which is cool. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. The Blazers got a big win last night over the Pelicans. And it was a game I was worried about because it was a classic letdown spot. But they really roared back. They had a 14-0 run in the third quarter that put them up by 9, and they never relinquished their lead after that. They were in control the rest of the way. Not full control. You know, the Pelicans got it down to 3 with like midway through the fourth, but then the Blazers closed the game on like a 12-3 run. They outscored them like 12-3 over the final, you know, like almost 5 minutes of the game, and they win the game by 12. But it was a good game. They bounced back strong there in the late second quarter into the third quarter and got a handle on things that got it done. Drew Holiday with 27 points and 9 assists. Tamani Kamara had 23 points. He was big time from downtown. And he has really been lighting it up. And as Tony mentioned when he reached out to me that, you know, Kamara has become kind of a legit 3-and-D. He's been great. And his three-point shooting in the game last night in the first half was really a big reason why they remained within striking distance. And let's take a listen to Tamani in the locker room after the Blazers' 12-point win last night over the Pelicans.
What did it mean to you to get the game ball and have that moment afterwards?
I don't know. It's a little bit weird, you know. I mean, you work towards those type of things, but it's I'm just glad we was able to get that through a win, you know. But yeah, it's something that I've been working on, trying to figure it out. And, I don't know.
How do you work on drawing offensive fouls?
The biggest thing for me, it was just my first year. I feel like I was really getting mad at by people being able to create foul offensively, and I was trying to find kind of like a counter defensively. How can I match that energy or like draw fouls also defensively? And I think that was the biggest thing. So I watched a lot of film on that and just being smart and sell. You know, there's a bunch of situations throughout the game where there is a lot of offensive foul, but sometimes it's hard to see for the ref because it might be smaller movements and stuff like that. So I just thought maybe enhancing it was going to help me, and I did that last year, and I just want to take that to another level this year.
Is it like selling it, like or, you know, leaning into it, or like?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like, you know, like as an offensive player, you're dribbling, somebody reaching and you put your head back, or people doing a lot of hooks and stuff like that. It's kind of like that same mindset. Try to outsmart the game, you know.
He doesn't sell, he embellishes.
I'm sorry?
So you don't sell, you embellish.
Yeah, exactly.
I know obviously that team results and team success is more important than any of this individual stuff, but is it kind of easier to enjoy some of this, you know, these individual records or whatever when it's a record for something that's like a purely like unselfish, like defensive thing like this, as opposed to like
sure. And I feel like that's the player that I am today, you know. Like I'm a facilitator, make winning plays, and really be the biggest team player that I can be, you know. Try to have my team win. I think that's the biggest thing. If I can get stops individually, I mean, I do that anytime, you know. So it's all about winning basketball game for me, and it's always what it's going to be about for me.
You take more pride in that or playing every single game this year?
Playing every single game, probably. I think that's something that I always wanted to do, be able to challenge myself and push myself physically to be able to compete all 82. And, and then that just happened to follow along, but, yeah.
What is there a way to describe how difficult it is to play every game? I mean, you gotta be sore.
Yeah, I mean, I felt it the first 2 years. It was really tough on my body, but I feel like this year I feel pretty good, to be honest. I feel pretty prepared for it. Mentally and physically, I was kind of ready for the situation, and I was able to maintain my weight, be good on eating and stuff like that. So I feel like it's been pretty smooth for me this year.
Obviously, we had the tooth incident earlier this year, but do you ever take a charge or something and you're just like, oh, why did I just do that? Like, do you ever? I mean, how much do you feel it afterwards?
For sure. I think it's depending on how many charges you get per game, you know. But
3 nights.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about being able to brace yourself on your falls. You know, I feel like once you're able to find the right technique to not hurt yourself every time you fall on the ground, I feel like it's way easier to put your body out there and have trust in you getting on the ground and not hurting yourself, you know. I feel like I was doing that a little bit in college, and I had like tape on my wrist. Even my first year, I had a lot of tape on my wrist, on my fingers and stuff like that, just by getting messed up. But I feel like my technique is just getting better, so yeah.
Do you find that, like, you can feel guys getting frustrated when you're drawing fouls? Like, if you draw one out top and you draw it, you just notice they're getting like, okay, this dude is like, he's really making it happen.
Yeah, and that was kind of one of the main things, you know, like, because I was getting frustrated defensively with the way they were drawing fouls offensively, so it was trying to kind of like replicate that situation defensively, and yeah, I think that was the main goal.
Do people tell you, like, when you early in the game, like, don't do it to me, like, don't flop on me, don't?
No, not really. People don't really talk to me that much. It's more about going out there and compete. You know, I'm not really there to have friends. There's a lot of people giving me respect, and I give the respect back. But no, it's not much conversation at that level.
Well, just guess right now, who has their name in the box the most this year? Just your guess.
You don't want to say yourself, but you want to say yourself.
Besides myself, I'll probably say DC or City and Tease probably up there. I think one of them three. Yeah, I think one of them three. Yeah.
There you go. That's Toumani Camara. When they asked him who he guessed was in the box more than anybody else, he just smiled real big. And I love that because he knows it's him. And he got put in the box last night because of his ability to draw charges. I think my favorite soundbite of the year from him, though, remember when he got his tooth knocked out? Stayed in the game because he's a tough, bad dude. And then after the game, he was asked what he thought about the nickname Tooth Monty, and he said, I think it's terrible. I thought that was pretty funny. But Toumani's awesome, and he is really developing. That's a pretty good find right there. Yeah, Cronin's on a bit of a heater right now. He makes the trade to get Denny Avdia. They draft Donovan Clingan, and they made sure and stood firm to make sure they got Tooth Monty back in that deal when they traded Dame. And that's worked out pretty well. Very nice. All right, Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio is coming up next. We got to celebrate with Bino because he cashed in on not one but 2 overs for the Blazers this year with their win total. and we'll get his take on the Final Four. Hope you're having a good Friday. What a beautiful day it is. I appreciate your time. Bino, Fox Sports Radio coming up next. Make sure you join me tomorrow. I'm going to be down at Spirit Mountain Casino hanging out in the BetMGM Sportsbook. And then that'll be live from noon to 3. And then I've got goodies to give away. And then we'll take in the action starting at 3:09 with UConn and Illinois. That's tomorrow, noon to 3 at the BetMGM Sportsbook at Spirit Mountain Casino. All right, my brother from another mother from Fox Sports Radio, Bino! Brian Noah is with me once again. What's up, my brother?
What is going on, Chad? Doing? I'll tell you what, man. I love how you let the lambs breathe right there. You know, like let me wait a little bit. Let me let the lambs do their thing and set the scene here, and then you come. I love that's a professional, just working into the scene right there, Chad. Good job by you.
Well, you know how it is. Game recognizes game, and I know when you're coming on, you have walk-up music. So who am I to talk over your walk-up music? We're gonna let that breathe just a little bit, man, because I know it's going to put you in the right mood for what we're about to do.
Well, I appreciate that. You are a true professional, and like the old Dilly Dilly commercials, you are truly a friend of the crowd. You are a friend of the lambs right there, I feel like, Chad. Absolutely.
Well, that's great. I feel like today is a day of celebration because as of this previous week, the Trailblazers have cashed not one, but two over tickets for you now as they sit 40 and 38, and Brian Noah is the benefactor.
All because of you. I saw your video, and you made a lot of great arguments. Chad, it's all because of you. I saw your video, and you made a lot of great arguments about the Blazers soaring over their season win total, and that's exactly what happened. So I am richer thanks to you, and of course, I know if you had a nickel for every time. I thought about going larger on that. Not, for whatever reason, I was like, I don't know what was happening at that time. I entered those bets way back in October. So that was my first thought. One game in, I'm like, holy cow, I risked too much on these Blazers with Chauncey and his issues going on there. But it turned out to be an easy cash, man. So I give you all the props in the world for that one.
I love it because if your boy Krakenberger would have put an over on the Blazers, he wouldn't have been concerned about Billups whatsoever being taken away by the FBI because he doesn't worry about bets after he places them. But people like you, the way I used to be, you know how it works, man. We grip over every detail, and that's part of the fun.
It's funny, too, because looking back, it's a great lesson. You always get these lessons in your betting career. And I remember a game not too long ago against the Sixers. And you remember this game, Chad, where they're on the road. They're down most of the game, but they're starting to claw their way back at the end. And then Blazers going Blazers, just stupid turnover after stupid turnover, and they're driving me crazy. I'm like, I even texted you. I'm like, I don't know if I can watch this team anymore, man. They're killing me here. But, yeah, you're sweating it at the time, and then you give it a couple of weeks, and it's an easy cash. And all that sweat was for nothing. So it's a good lesson. Just let it play out, man. You can't change it anyway. Don't freak out over everything. I'm a work in progress when it comes to that, though, Chad.
No, that's okay. I respect that. I wanted to ask you about the Raiders going out and adding Kirk Cousins as a backup quarterback. You know, I look at that situation. The way I look at it is like, okay, we pretty much know they're going to take Fernando Mendoza based on all the reports that are out there. The way I look at this move is pretty simple and I kind of like it if this is how they play it, but we can't trust the Raiders because they've been proven to make, awful decisions as an organization. But if you draft Mendoza and you realize, through mini camps and training camp and then the preseason that he's not ready to go, you've got a reliable vet in Cousins you can put out there on the field. I'm a big believer in not destroying your young quarterback if you draft him. Like, if he's not ready, then that's okay. You've got Kirk Cousins. Now, if he clearly plays head and shoulders above everybody else and he's ready to take the job, then you give it to him. But I kind of like that insurance there with a team that's trying to really rebuild the roster and put themselves in a position where they can be better on both ends. And with the new head coach and Clint Kubiak, I kind of like that approach. How do you see the signing of Cousins in Vegas?
Yeah, I like the move because a lot of teams have talked about doing this and they don't do it. If you go back to Anthony Richardson with the Colts, he was nowhere close to being ready to be the starter in his rookie season, and they threw him right out there.
Yeah.
And it's like, guys, he had less than 400 passing attempts in his entire college career. He didn't have that many starts either. He barely got to the teens in starts. I think he got to the teens. If he did, it's just barely, like 13 on the nose, right around there. He barely started in college. So he was the prototypical guy that should have sat and waited and been developed, and the Colts didn't do that at all. So I applaud the Raiders for at least having a plan in place where they can do that. They have a legitimate path toward doing that if they see fit. And so I like it. There's no rush in throwing Mendoza out there week one. If you got Cousins out there for whatever, a handful of starts, the first half of the season at least, and then you eventually get to Mendoza, and there's not a rush. You don't have to digest the playbook in a month flat, get all the checks down. There's a lot to throw at a rookie quarterback. So the slow approach, kind of like how you let the lambs breathe and you kind of slowly work. I think that's what the Raiders are doing with Mendoza. It makes a lot of sense. The only thing that I would kind of go, is you hear Mendoza like, oh, he's pro ready. This guy, week one starter, that type of thing. And the Raiders taking this approach, paying Kirk Cousins $20 million. The only thing that makes me just pause for a second and say, you're convinced Mendoza's the guy, right? Like, this isn't an indictment, but it does make me pause for a second because there are quarterbacks like the Bengals didn't think twice about throwing Joe Burrow out there. You know what I mean? Like, there have been a lot of franchises that don't think twice about throwing a guy out there week one, especially a number one overall pick. And the Raiders are at least having a plan in place where they're not going to have to do that. So it does make me pause for a second where it's like, you guys are completely sold on Mendoza, right? But the insurance policy is a little bit interesting. But like broadly, looking at the whole picture, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I agree. We're talking with Brian O, Fox Sports Radio. Yeah, now I preface this by saying that I didn't know if Joe Burrow was going to turn out to be a great NFL quarterback because I didn't know if the arm strength and some of the tools were there, and he proved me wrong. The guy's awesome. I love Joe Burrow. But when I look at Mendoza, like, it's fascinating because he won a title at Indiana, which seems impossible, but he got it done. He's well-liked by everyone. He's super smart. Like, I like all of his intangibles. I just don't know if I would take that guy number one overall. So I hope the Raiders know what they're doing because I'm not convinced that Mendoza is going to be a big-time quarterback in the NFL. I could be wrong, but I think it might be mostly crazy to take him at one. That's just kind of how I see it.
I get it. I completely get it. We'll see. Like, no one has a crystal ball right now, but 5 years from now, everyone will have a crystal ball. You know what I mean? Like, turns out I knew they shouldn't have taken that guy or whatever, however it plays out. But the truth right now, Chad, is I think he's a good prospect, and the Raiders need a quarterback, right? So they'd be crazy not to take him right here, right now. But if he turns out to be this mediocre quarterback or even less than that, yeah, they're going to look crazy. But right here, right now, I put it like this. It made all the sense in the world. This isn't the draft, but it's a quarterback evaluation. I thought it made all the sense in the world at the time for the Vikings not to extend Sam Darnold, right? Like, Sam Darnold played very well for the Vikings, all things considered, and then he completely unraveled and wet himself in the two biggest games at the end of the season. And they're like, this is the guy we're going to give huge money to? Like, and we've got a top 10 draft pick. Like, is that what we're doing? So at the time, it made a lot of sense. Then you fast forward, J.J. McCarthy is a wreck right now.
Oh.
And Sam Darnold put together another good season, so now the Vikings look like they're out of their minds. But at the time, it made a lot of sense. So I think it's similar with the Raiders. Obviously, you're looking at Darnold as a free agent quarterback. You're looking at Mendoza as a draft pick. But the comparison is about quarterbacks and quarterback evaluations. And I think with the Raiders being quarterback starved, I mean, when's the last time they had a legitimate top-flight prospect? I mean, you probably have to go all the way back to Jamarcus Russell, who crashed and burned, as we all know. I don't know that they've had a top-flight prospect since then. That's a long time ago. So you got to go down this road. Hey, man, Arvell Reese might turn out to be unbelievable, and Mendoza's just mediocre at best. And you can look back and say, what were they thinking? Well, they were thinking, we got to solve the most important position on our roster, which is quarterback. They're trying to do that, and time will tell if that's the right move or not.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I would assume, based on the maneuver to bring in Kyler Murray, it looks like the Vikings are pretty much done on J.J. McCarthy, right?
Yeah, it sure does. Right. Like, it's baby. No, it's you and me till the end of time. You know what? I'm going to go to Vegas with some other girl, though. But it's you and me forever. Like, your actions don't support your words. The Vikings can say whatever they want about, oh, no, we still have all the belief in the world in J.J. McCarthy. It's like, you're not bringing in Kyler Murray to take his job if you have all the belief in the world in J.J. McCarthy, or as I call him, 9, because that's what he called himself. Yeah. If you got all the belief in the world in 9, you're not going down the Kyler Murray path, and that's exactly what they're doing. So No, but just follow the actions. They always say follow the money. Follow the actions. And they can talk all these flowery words about 9 that they want to, but their actions show that they don't believe in that guy at all.
Well, that's a great point. And you know what? If you're an athlete, you cannot call yourself 9. We know who the athletes are. When you say 23, we know you're talking about Michael Jordan. If I say number 7, everyone knows you're talking about Elway. There's a few select elite athletes who can call themselves, or we call them by their number, but I've never thought of J.J. McCarthy as 9. That's absurd.
Right, I would think Drew Brees well before J.J. McCarthy on that one, and there are plenty of other 9s you could come up with, but yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I was going to go with the Mick. I was going to go Mickey Mantle, but yeah, you got a solid 7 right there with Elway, Chad Doing.
Yeah,
no doubt.
No question about it. I wanted to ask you about the NBA. You know, we don't have a postseason award for Offensive Player of the Year. They do Defensive Player of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year. They've got MVP. And I'm just wondering how you look at the MVP race right now, because Victor Wembanyama has been phenomenal this year, and the Spurs are exceeding all expectations. He's the best defensive player in the game, and he's going to win that award. But offensively, he's still a work in progress. And I look at a guy like Luka, who's just tearing it up right now, or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's leading the Thunder, who are once again going to be the top seed in the Western Conference. How do you size up that race? And then, oh, by the way, you got Nikola Jokic, who's averaging a triple-double as a center.
I know it. It's crazy.
That's
Second
crazy.
straight year. It's insane. He's only the second player ever who's done that multiple seasons. Obviously, Westbrook being the other guy. But to do it in back-to-back seasons, to lead the league in rebounding and assists as a center is insane. It is insane. I'd love to see this race if Jokic had yet to win an MVP.
Yeah.
That would be really interesting, right? But voter fatigue is a real thing. I would go SGA, Chad, because he's just a metronome when it comes to scoring. He's unbelievable. He's a 30-point guy, all the 20-point games in a row. That streak is insane. And I know a lot of people get fed up with the whatever. They want to call it foul baiting or what. It's like, bro, like the goal is to win. You know what I mean? The goal isn't to be entertaining. The goal is to win. And that's what he's doing. He's able to get to the free throw line at will. Why wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Is he supposed to approach the game and be like, well, you know what? The fans don't like it, so I'm not going to get to the free throw line half as much. That'd be stupid. Makes no sense. And I think with OKC being as banged up as they've been this season, he's held them together. Yeah. Jalen Williams has missed a ton of time. They've had a lot of injuries. And, like, Shai can hold his own defensively. He's no Wemby. Like, there's only one Wemby out there. He's sensational defensively. And I liked Wemby's argument. He made a good argument. But I just think it's SGA holding that team together, being such a force scoring-wise. And that's who I would go with. I was surprised the straw poll today, it's SGA by a landslide. I was surprised it's as one-sided as it is with that final straw poll.
Yeah, me too. The other thing that came to mind, I was just thinking about this the other day, but I'm so focused on the Western Conference that I was thinking about the Eastern Conference, and I'm blown away by what Boston has done this year, missing, Jason Tatum for most of the year. Now he's back, and they look like a legitimate title contender. But you know what's crazy? And Detroit's, really had a strong season. You know what's disappointing? The New York Knicks, I thought going into the year that they would be primed to make a run to the NBA Finals, and they could possibly still get there, but I don't look at them as strong of a favorite as I did to start the year. And I just think it's an epic miss by them because Indiana's down because of the injury, and, they've focused on the lottery position. And then you had Detroit, who, is young and still learning how to win, and hopefully they can learn how to put it together in the postseason. And then Boston missing Tatum for most of the year. And now I don't even look at New York as the main threat in the Eastern Conference. I just feel like it's a missed opportunity for the Knicks based on what they did last year. It's crazy.
Yeah, I agree with you. And that's the thing. The Tatum injury didn't impact that series at all. Tatum got hurt at the end of a game they were going to lose anyway, right? Like the Pistons were winning that series whether Tatum gets hurt or not. And so, to look at the Knicks going into this season, no Halliburton, no Pacers to deal with, right? Pistons, no Cade, at least right now. I don't know if he's coming back. If he does, I doubt he's the same player, not going to have his same rhythm. You really just have the Celtics to deal with. You can't trust the Cavs, the Hawks, the Sixers. Like who can you trust in the East? It's
Nobody.
really the Celtics. So if you're able to beat Boston last season at full strength, Why can't you do it again this season? You'd at least have a shot to do it. And yeah, all we hear with the Knicks is like, oh, they have this losing streak. They're not getting Cat the ball enough. It's like, what? How are they not getting him the ball? That seems pretty easy to solve. I didn't get the idea to fire Tibbs. It was the first time they made the Eastern Conference Finals in like a quarter century, and they're like, let's get rid of Tibbs.
Yeah.
I didn't get that. I didn't get the move to bring in Mike Brown. I don't want to make him out to be the worst head coach ever, but I like Tibbs better, and I don't understand why they had to change it. It just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but that's the move they made. And yeah, when you look at them, it's like they're in the thick of it, but it doesn't feel like it, does it? Right? It just feels like they kind of get in their own way, and they're not going to emerge and make it to the finals. That's at least the way it feels like right now.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. The Tibbs firing was puzzling to me at best. All right, this is what I want to do in honor of clock integrity. I would like to take a break and bring you back so we can talk about the Final Four. Are you game for that, Bino?
I am completely game for that, Chad, doing.
Yes,
on
that's
one
what I'm talking
condition.
about. Yes.
You welcome me in with some Slayer! That's what I want.
Okay.
It's a request. Bounce back music right there.
All right, Shacker, you know what you need to do. Bring him back with Slayer. We got more with Bino, Fox Sports Radio coming up. We'll break down the Final Four, and we'll find out where he's going to be placing his money when we get down to business tomorrow. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620.
Get it into Boozer, back for Sarr, ahead, Boozer, that ball deflected and stolen by Mullins. Caravan, 2 seconds, Mullins tosses it up. Oh! It's good! We're point 3! UConn goes in front!
What a shot. What a game that was. Brian O, Fox Sports Radio is with us. Now, Brian, I was talking with Dan Dickau a few days ago, and I still think the Christian Laettner shot heard around the world against Kentucky is number one. But I think UConn, that shot there we saw from Mullins, that moves up to number 2 on my list. All-time tournament finishes, man. What did you think about that game?
Man, I would, you know what? It's funny. I'm thinking off the top of my head. I would agree with you with the Laettner shot, number 1. I'd have to put the Villanova shot, number 2. That's a buzzer beater to win a title. You know what I mean? Like that.
That was big time.
That's got to be up there with Chris Jenkins. But, man, that shot from UConn, that's insanity. What I really want to know is, how does gambling Chad with a significant sum of money on Duke Moneyline react to that whole sequence going down the way it did?
I would lose my mind. And that's the first thing that went to my mind was any of the Duke Moneyline players. And I know by talking to Justin Ballinger down at Spirit Mountain that there were a number of Duke Moneyline individuals on that game. And you can just imagine what went through your body. Because as soon as that guy Mullins put up the 3, you knew it had a chance, and he just nothing but net. And then you're like, what was Boozer doing?
I know. And the funny thing was, when he tried to throw the ball, when he tried to throw it to his 2 wide-open teammates, in the moment, I'm like, I get it. You know, if the pass gets there, the game's over. Forget about if it even gets there. If it just gets over the outstretched arms of those 2 UConn players, the game is over.
Yeah.
And then you rewind the whole thing, having the luxury of doing that. And you're like, all you had to do is just hold the ball. There's not enough time. They wouldn't even had a backcourt violation, you know? Like, he could just dribble backwards. He could have done a number of things except what he did, and they would have been just fine. But that's what shows you, man, in the moment. It's hard to think about all of those things in one split second. And he made the wrong decision.
Oh, that's so unreal. What a game that was. Now, the first game tomorrow will be UConn and Illinois. Right now, the Illini are a 1.5-point favorite. What does Gambling No think about that one?
I like the Illini. You know, I'm getting vibes. Tell me if you think this is crazy, Chad. I'm getting Chiefs-like vibes from UConn, right?
Yeah.
Didn't we just go through this where, you know, before last season when the Chiefs were awful? Last time they were in the Super Bowl, they're going for a three-peat against the Eagles. And you're like, well, I mean, hard to bet against Mahomes and Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo. Now we're just saying it's hard to bet against Danny Hurley. Most people can't name a guy outside of Danny Hurley on the team. You know what I mean?
And that's exactly what it is. It's the coach and the fact that they've had recent success in the title games.
Yes. They won back-to-back titles. They're going for a 3rd title in 4 years. You have to go back to the UCLA days to have a run like that. It's insane what they've been able to do. But this UConn team isn't what they once were. They're not as dominant as they once were. They almost blew a big lead against Michigan State. They barely survived against Duke. And I take nothing away from their path of getting here, but I will look at their path and evaluate them going forward, right? That's fair. And I just don't look at this UConn team being star-studded. This is not those back-to-back title teams. They're not wrecking opponents. Their record against the spread this season was terrible. Not even they're losing way more games against the spread than winning them and covering them. So I just think Illinois, their run, what they've been able to do, getting past Houston, like literally punking Houston, is pretty impressive.
That's one of the more impressive wins of the tournament right there. What they did to Houston in Houston in the tournament. That was, and they beat them at their game being more physical, which is hard to do.
It is. It's very hard to do. And I look at their physicality. They're going to be able to hold up against UConn's physicality. Reed has been fantastic. But I look at Illinois as just having the much better offense. They actually statistically have the better defense well.
They do. Their defense, they had issues earlier in the year defensively, but they turned it around on that end of the ball. And And the reality is that they're playing as well as anybody in the tournament right now. They just don't have the name recognition of Dan Hurley.
Yeah, they just don't. So I just look at more reasons to back Illinois than to back UConn. And it's the same thing as the Super Bowl. If Mahomes and company won a third, bowl in a row, and you're betting the Eagles, you're like, I'm an idiot. What am I doing? So if you back the Illini and UConn wins again, you're going to be like, I'm dumb. What am I doing? I shouldn't have a betting account at all. Yeah, you're going to question yourself, but I really do think that's the right side. I think that's the right team to back heading into that thing.
All right. In the other game, the Titanic matchup, Michigan and Arizona, the pair of 1 seeds that are in the Final Four, and the line is the same. You've got Michigan as a 1.5-point favorite over Arizona. What I like about this game is that both these teams have size and they play well on both ends. And, Arizona's nice because they don't have to rely on the 3 ball, but they've got it in their arsenal if they need it.
Yeah, that's right. I like Arizona in this matchup, Chad. I'm curious what you think, but the reasons I like Arizona, Michigan is not a very deep team. And if they start getting in foul trouble, Arizona does a great job. They're number 1 in all of the land in terms of free throw attempts. They get to the line a ton. Now, Michigan has done a good job of defending without fouling. So we'll see who the whistle benefits in that matchup. But if Arizona is able to draw a lot of fouls, get Michigan in foul trouble, that's going to be a big, big deal in this matchup. And then you look at Michigan, they shoot a lot more threes than Arizona does. And when you're talking about a stadium, right, like the depth perception, all that, what if Michigan is just a little bit under what they normally shoot? That can make a huge difference in this matchup. So I love the balance of Arizona. Their top 10 offensive efficiency, top 10 defensive efficiency. I just think they bring a lot to the table. The one thing I don't like is Lindeborg. When he's playing out along the perimeter, he can shoot it from distance. And Koa Pete, he doesn't want to go out there. You know what I mean? So I think Lindeborg could be a monster in this matchup. But team versus team, I like the depth of Arizona. I like the balance of Arizona. I like that they don't rely on the 3 as much as Michigan does. I have a couple more check marks with Arizona than I do with Michigan.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, would you just play Arizona and take the money line in basically a straight-up win situation to get a little extra value?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
That's the way I would play it. I wouldn't have any problem with someone that's like, you know what? If if Michigan wins by 1, and I could have taken plus 1.5, I'll be kicking myself. So, yeah, I wouldn't have any problem with anyone who wants to take the 1.5. Me personally, I would just play it on the money line.
Yeah.
But you want a little bit extra insurance, nothing wrong with taking plus 1.5 at all.
It's been great. Like, I've watched a lot of the tournament this year. I've really enjoyed it. I was curious to see how it would shake out with NIL and the way things are working out, but I've enjoyed the tournament immensely. It's been fun.
It's been a lot of fun. Been some great moments. And I get we don't have the little guy. NIL has changed quite a bit. But, man, we've had some star-studded matchups. And who says that the little guy can't, have a run next season? I don't think that it's like a foregone conclusion. No little guy is ever going to upset a big boy ever again. It's like it's a 40-minute game. These are young kids. There's a 3-point line. Settle down. There are still going to be upsets. They're going to be harder to come by. But best believe there's still going to be upsets in this tournament.
Yeah, that could be the classic overreaction. Anytime something changes, people are like, oh, college sports is dead. You know how it is.
But not too long ago, Chad, it was like, how are the big boys going to beat these mid-majors where the kids stick around forever? That was like 2 years ago. Now it's completely shifted to something else.
Well, I tell you what, Bino, you're the man. Congratulations on cashing on your 2 over tickets. Enjoy the Final Four and the title game, and you and I will catch up soon, brother.
Sounds awesome, Chad Doing. Always great to be with you, buddy, and I'll catch you very soon.
All right, love Bino. Bino! All right, we'll keep things rolling. Rip City Drive on a Friday. And then at 5:20, we'll head down to Eugene and get a little primer before the launch of the Hop season. And their home opener in the brand-new ballpark coming up on Tuesday out in Hillsborough is going to be awesome. Matt Rickert joins us at 5:20. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, what's going on, my friends? It's now 5 o'clock. We've got the Final Four, which kicks off tomorrow. First game at 3:09, Illinois and UConn. The Illini favored by 1.5. Michigan and Arizona will follow. The Wolverines right now 1.5-point favorite over the Cats. Join me at Spirit Mountain Casino. I'll be live. Special edition of the Rip City Drive from noon until 3. Justin Ballinger, the sportsbook manager, is going to join me. I'll have giveaways on hand. There'll also be food and drink specials. And then after the show, we can take in all of the action from Spirit Mountain Casino. Parlays, teasers, totals, in-game betting, and futures. Everything you could possibly want. Blazers get a big win last night, topped the Pelicans. Clippers fall to the Spurs in L.A. The Blazers are now 8th in the Western Conference standings, a half game ahead of the Clippers. And the Blazers get 3 days off. They'll be in Denver Monday to meet the Nuggets. That game will tip off at 6 o'clock. 4 games remain for the Blazers, 2 at home, 2 on the road. Next game, Monday in Denver. All right, I found the clip I was looking for. Tamani Kamara, who was awesome last night. The defense drawing multiple charges, 23 points, and he's become a legit 3-and-D like Tony and Boring was talking about. But if you go back to January when he was taking on the Rockets, he had a tooth knocked out. And I love that question he got. What do you think about the nickname Tooth Monty? And his reaction was a classic. Take a listen to this.
Might as well start with the tooth, man. Just lead us through that play and when you realized you were Sam's tooth.
It's actually not as bad as I thought. When I got here, I really thought my whole lip was open. Just how it was feeling, you know. But I knew I was missing a part of my tooth, so I started looking on the floor and I saw it, and then that's pretty much it.
Yeah, he just caught you at the top of his head.
Yeah. He kind of like jumped backwards and his head just hit my mouth. Yeah.
How would you describe how that felt?
Painful.
What do you think about the nickname Tooth Monty that's going on right now?
I think it's terrible.
I love that. What do you think about the nickname Tooth Monty? I think it's terrible. It's so good. Tiago Splitter, very complimentary of Tamani Kamara. The Blazers get the big win last night. Down by 10 in the second quarter, but they really turned tables in that third quarter with their defense, scoring a number of points off turnovers, and used a 14-0 run to build a 9-point lead that they never relinquished and really put together a solid performance coming off their biggest win of the year Tuesday in L.A. against the Clippers. And now the Blazers a half game ahead of the Clippers after they fall to the Spurs at home and in control of their own destiny to be in that 7-8 play-in game.
I mean, he's the guy that sets the tone for our whole defense, him and Donovan. But I think, you know, he's always an appointed attack there and, you know, just do everything he can to get stops, to rebound, to push the ball, play the right way, to lead them on the timeouts. So it's great to see a guy like that just flourishing doing those things.
What about for him offensively? I mean, 6 threes tonight seems like that's where the shots really come around for him lately.
Yeah, I mean, when he's playing with that confidence, just let it fly. Don't even second guess him. He's a zone type of thing, mental zone where he's just hooping and getting stops, and it's amazing to see.
Is there a skill in drawing those offensive fouls and charges like he does?
Definitely. I think there's a skill, there's a technique, there's a desire, an effort to do that every night.
So he put his name in the box?
He got the box, he got the ball, he got the whole thing tonight.
The ball?
Yeah, he bought a game.
Why is that?
He said, what's the record?
Oh, sure, yeah.
So I think he sets the record of the NBA of drawn fouls or something like that.
You acknowledged it after the game?
Yeah.
What was the reaction like?
I mean, the guys just love him because he's, you know, the ultimate competitor and everybody sees it. And like I say, every pregame, I'm like, set the tone. You set the tone on defense for us, we're going to be good.
Is there part of his sort of style that's took you a little while to adjust to? Because, he's coming off a screen hard and, smashing into someone's shoulder and kind of, he's sometimes behind the play because the way it was did it take you a while to be like, okay, this is what he does, I got to settle in with it?
Not really. I think when you see effort, when you see their eyes focus and just trying to win basketball games, you go with that. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind he's a great defender. So
it wasn't like scheme breaking and you were like, oh, come on.
No, that's part of the scheme. That's how we should defend every off-ball screen.
Is there anybody you played with that reminds you of him?
Yeah, but you guys probably don't know him. Chapo Nocioni, Argentinian guy that played in the Argentina national team. He played for the Bulls a little bit, but played with me in Spain. Play hard, defensive mind, and could shoot the ball as well, like a dog on defense.
Same three guys off the bench, Chris, Matisse, and Rob, that kind of had the same impact that they had the other night. How big have those three been, just the bench in general?
Matisse is being unbelievable. I mean, he's plus 21, making shots, steals, deflections. I think he got 8 deflections. So he's a pass there on defense. Just like Tumani, a little different, a little bit more, mobile, a little bit more on the passing lanes and stuff instead of being physical like Tumani. So a little different, but also very effective.
What do you see from Matisse as an offensive player? Because the book on him his whole career has been, obviously everyone knows what he does defensively, but offense, it's like he's either people think he doesn't really give you much, or that's just not something you think about with him. What do you kind of see from him on that?
I don't see that. He's a super smart player, can shoot a basketball, can drive, can do the right plays every time. He doesn't force anything. He played 30 minutes. We being careful with his minutes now, coming back, being out for a while. So, if I could play 40, I would play him 40 tonight.
Tiago, what was the message to the team at halftime? And did it have a lot to do with defensive intensity? It seemed
I
like
think it was the physicality. We were not physical enough. They were more physical than us. We talked about before the game, and we're just not there. It was a little ugly, but sometimes you gotta win those ugly games when you don't have, you're not scoring, you turn over the ball, or it doesn't feel right. I think there was a lot about physicality, I would say, offense and defense.
There's Tiago Splitter after the game last night. And I thought, great praise for the guys that deserved it. We talk a lot about Tumani because he's such a great defender. But Matisse Thybulle, this is going back to the conversation we had about Caleb Love and whether or not, the Blazers were going to convert him. And it all came down to, well, is Matisse Thybulle going to be able to play? And you can see the impact he's making now. This is, why I couldn't answer the question. It's like, well, if Matisse is going to come back from the injury and play, then you got to play Matisse. He's just a better basketball player. But the defense, his smarts, he's right. Tiago Splitter, it's a great compliment. It's like he's such a smart player. He would have played him 40 minutes last night if he could have. His understanding of the passing lanes, the way he's able to deflect balls, and he's been a reliable three-point threat. And he gets a lot of open looks, and he knocks them down. Matisse Thybulle is a great defender, smart. And then Toumani Camara's physicality. I was watching him last night. Like, he was embracing every single guy that he was defending. A couple times he got matched up on, Zion. Zion's a beast, by the way. What was it, 6'6", 286? When he gets a full head of steam going at the rim, good luck with that. And yet Toumani was willing to stand in, took a charge on him. Like, you got to have some intestinal fortitude to be able to stand in front of Zion when he's got a full head of steam. That's a good way to get yourself killed. But his physicality, and then there were times where, Jeremiah Fears, by the way, sharp-looking young player, like a teenager. I mean, he can finish with contact. He is good, quick off the bounce. I mean, there were times where he was killing. He killed Scoot a couple of times last night. Toumani got matched up on him and embraced that. I just love two-way players. I love guys who are willing to engage and stand in defensively and get after it. Love that. And Denny's one of those guys, too, because he enjoys physical play. The only knock I have on Denny is pretty much the knock on every superstar in the NBA. It is amazing to me how many guys in the league, not just Denny, but across the board, every time there's contact and no whistle, they turn and immediately start complaining to the officials constantly. Denny does it. Any of the star players do it. It's constant in every NBA game. It's like they just can't help themselves. And I understand it. The officiating sucks. That's why they're bitter. But you can't let that get in the way of your focus and what you need to accomplish on the floor. And sometimes it gets away from those guys. It's crazy. But that was a big win last night. Coming off the win over the Clippers, it could have been an easy letdown spot, but the Blazers really delivered a strong message in that third quarter with their defense. And to be honest with you, if they're going to get through the rest of the regular season, the 4 games with success, and if they're going to get through the play-in tournament, because they're going to have to beat a team like the Suns or the Clippers again, it's going to come from the defense. And that's really what it comes down to. Can you engage defensively like we saw in the game against the Clippers and in the second half against the Pelicans? Can you lock in and get stops? Because you're going to have stretches where you're not making shots, where the offense is off, or as Tiago Splitter said, it doesn't feel right. You know, maybe you're missing shots, a couple of turnovers, and you go through a drought. How do you find ways to win on those nights? Well, you do it by getting stops, by engaging defensively, staying connected, and being aggressive. And they're a team that has to rebound well. Now, they were fortunate last night because they shot the 3 ball really well. They hit 23s last night. The Blazers are going to win basically every game where they hit 23s. So their 3-point shooting last night was special, but they can't rely on that. And so it comes down to the basics for them: limiting turnovers, staying connected defensively, offensive rebounding, second chance points, the mindset and how they start games, and making their free throws. And if they take care of the basics, you know, the things that are within their control, they're going to have a chance to get to the postseason. But I enjoyed watching last night. Toumani Camara was a pleasure to watch because he just worked his tail off. And I like it because when we heard from him earlier, he was asked what he takes the most pride in. You know, the charges or playing in every game, and he said playing in every game. And I like that. I like guys that show up, are available, and go out there and work their tail off. Keep in mind, he's going to play every game this year, and he's doing so expending more energy than most people in the NBA because he leads the NBA in miles traveled on defense. And he's willing to stand in and take a charge. And you got to be a tough-minded player to do that because some of those guys are big. And there is physical punishment involved in being that type of defender. And so I just tip the cap and say, good for you, man. But the culture, you know, some of the guys they have and the way they compete, I mean, it's impressive. And the other thing I noticed about Scoot last night, even though he was having some issues defensively, his hands are huge. I love that. There was a play, first half, fast break where Denny and Scoot were out on the break, and Denny put this perfect bounce pass down on the floor right in front of the defender. And because Scoot's got those long hands, big hands, he's able to grab the basketball with one hand and then immediately elevate and just throw it down with a jam shot. It's incredible. Big hands. Great pass by Denny. One hands the basketball, elevates, and throws it down. And I see that kind of stuff. I'm like, wow. So there you have it. The problem is they got to play at Denver and San Antonio next. Denver's like no man's land for the Blazers. And it has been for years. One of their worst road trips percentage-wise. Not good. And they haven't won a regular season game there since 2016. That's a problem, but a big opportunity because if Portland can get a split, just a split with the next 2 road games, they would put an immense amount of pressure on the Clippers. And you want that game on Friday, next Friday, to mean everything. All right, 503-248-0620. Matt Rickert will be joining us here on the show from Eugene. We'll get a preview of the Hop season and their home opener in their brand new ballpark coming up on Tuesday the 7th. And the Blazers don't play until Monday. Final Four tomorrow. Join me. I'll be down at Spirit Mountain Casino live on air from noon to 3 with a special Saturday edition of the Rip City Drive, previewing the Final Four. And then when I'm done at 3, the first game will tip off at 3:09. So join me tomorrow at Spirit Mountain Casino where the action never stops. All right, Matt Rickard of the Hops going to join me here in about 20 minutes. And we'll get his take on the upcoming season, which kicks off tonight here on your home of the Hops, Rip City Radio 620. I'm really looking forward to next Tuesday, April 7th. It works out perfectly because there's no Blazer game. I'll be out at the new ballpark, and I'm going to do my show out there from 3 to 6 at Rip City Drive. And then John Sakanik is going to join me before the show for a Catch 365 on the field there at the new park. So I'm looking forward to it. And we talked to KL a few days ago, and I was in communication with Seth Hoyland. There are still some tickets available for the home opener. And this park is beautiful, so go to hillsborohops.com, get some tickets, and be out there. And I'll do the show live from 3 to 6. That's coming up on Tuesday, April 7th. And we'll talk to Matt Rickard here in a few minutes. Your telephone number to reach out to me is 503-248-0620. Let's go out to Paul in West Lynn, who wants to talk. And I think maybe you heard Noah and I talking about Fernando Mendoza, who is expected to go to the Raiders in the upcoming NFL draft. Let's go out to the phones right now. Paul, welcome to the show, my friend. What's on your mind?
Pretty weather, shouldn't we?
I'm sorry, what was that, Paul?
We should be golfing in this beautiful 70-degree weather, shouldn't we?
I know, and here's the thing. It's like I envy every single human I know that's golfing today, and I had a lot of people ask me if I was going to be golfing today. My official golf season does not begin until after the Blazers season, and so I'm bitter that I'm stuck in the studio right now and not on the golf course because it's awesome outside right now.
Well, we got to get your index down. So, the posting season has started March 1st, so you got to get out there when you have nice days. So you piqued my interest with two comments, if I may. The most frustrating one, which led me to call in, was kind of defending Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's playing style. I feel like it's very analogous to like the offensive way of Hack-a-Shaq, right? Like it's like the opposite of Hack-a-Shaq, except it's the offensive version. It makes for a very difficult game to watch. It destroys the rhythm. It destroys flow. They're not completely illegal. It's not a good product. And so the NBA had to enact rules to discourage teams from employing the Hack-a-Shaq. And I feel the NBA is going to have to do the same for the SGA plays with foul baiting and just stopping the flow of the game and the rhythm.
Well, it's true, but I don't want to be a hypocrite because Denny Avdia is one of the league leaders in getting to the foul line too because he's perfected that, that gather maneuver that he makes. And so I want him to continue to get to the foul line as much as possible. But look, I know this because I had the opportunity. I was sitting next to a current NBA official on a flight not too long ago. And so I just started asking him questions off the record. And, there is no doubt that the players, especially the star players, they are all about utilizing whatever tools they have to try and get the benefit of the doubt when it comes to a call. They all do it. And Shai's the best at it right now.
No denying that. It just makes for a not as enjoyable product for the consumer or the fan.
But how would you do it? How would you eliminate that, though? How would you do it?
That's such a question. I keep looking back to our heyday, right? In the 80s and 90s when NBA was amazing. First of all, I'd get rid of the instant replay, which is also destroying the game. I think that the refs just have to call it tighter. Obviously, there's a lot more traveling that goes on than before that's not being called. I think they just got to tighten up the game and call it. Or say, if you know you're baiting, I'm not going to call an offensive foul. I just think there has to be some type of integrity where it's very noticeable and obvious when players are trying to bait the defensive players to fouling them. Just don't call the foul. Let it get no blood, no foul. Playground rules.
Well,
take it back to 87, 88.
Well, the good thing is that, and I think it will even be the case this year, that once we get into the postseason, the officials do let the guys play a little bit more. So maybe we'll see a little bit less of that come postseason time. I hope.
We'll see. We'll see. And the other thing was Mendoza. I adore you, but I disagree. I think this kid's got it all. I think he's got the moxie. I think he's got composure. He's proven it on the big stage that he can come up with the throws, whether it's in Autzen or against Miami national championship. He's tough, with that run. He's very intelligent. He just seems to have all those it factors that don't quite pencil out with height and weight and how fast the ball is thrown. Just those intangibles he seems to have. So I feel he will be a very good pro for many years.
So you think Mendoza is worthy of a number one pick in the upcoming draft?
100%. I mean, what about him makes you shy away from that? I mean, he's won a national championship. He's taken a school with not all 5A players to a national championship. He's shown he can make the throws. He's very intelligent. He can handle the limelight, the pressure. He's got charisma. He's a little nerdy, but I think that makes him adorable to the fans.
Oh, I don't mind the nerdiness. No, I think he's great. I love everything about Mendoza. I just wonder about his physical traits on the next level. Arm strength, is it going to be enough? And his mobility, which was fine in college, is he going to be able to lean on that movement well enough in the NFL? And I just don't know the answer to that. The one thing I do like about him is the smarts. I think he'll be able to understand and grasp the offense quickly. And then his ball placement, he's on time and on target with the football. And what I know about quarterbacks is when you're on time and on target with your delivery, then you're normally going to excel. So, I want him to succeed and be great because I really like him. He's a terrific human. I like everything about him. I like his family story. And he put together one of the greatest all-time seasons in the history of college football, leading Indiana to an unbeaten season and a championship. It's like fairy tale stuff. It's unbelievable.
Exactly. And I think everything you said is going to translate well to the next level.
Well, the only reason why
we've seen a lot of people.
I agree. There's been a lot of times in the past where I thought a guy was going to translate to the next level, and then I was quickly reminded that the NFL is not college football. That's my only pause. The NFL is not college. It's different.
Joe Montana, he was not a bad quarterback. He clearly wasn't the biggest, the strongest arm, but he's able to get four Super Bowls. I'm not comparing him to Joe Montana exactly, but I'm just saying there clearly were better quarterbacks in the league that probably had better data, better metrics, but he had the it factor. And I think this kid's got the it factor.
No, I know. You just did compare him to Joe Montana. That's high praise.
I did.
I know. You did compare him to Montana, which I
did.
So, but you're right. Like Montana did not have the measurables of Elway or Marino, some of the bigger, stronger quarterbacks. Drew Brees was an undersized guy who turned out to be a terrific quarterback. And if we're being real, Tom Brady didn't exactly have measurables that pro scouts loved, right? So he could be an example of one of those guys that doesn't measure up with all the data, but when he gets on the football field, just his smarts and understanding of the game is going to, propel him forward. And I hope that's the case. And I also I'm glad that the Raiders were willing to bring in Cousins because that way they don't have to force him onto the field early if he's not ready. They just be patient, right? If he's ready and he proves it through camp, then give him the job. But if not, don't force him out there until it's time.
Give him an opportunity to succeed. That's the one thing you got to do. Set him up for success, not failure. But I don't think he's going to be failure. And
you're right about the Oregon game. You remember the Oregon game down at Autzen? When he threw the pick six and Oregon took the lead, I thought, well, they're done. But he took them right back down the field and threw that sweet touchdown pass. That response, I was like, wow, like that impressed the heck out of me. That's when I knew Indiana was for real and that they were a tough football team. That response after the pick six at Autzen.
Moxie. M-O-X-Y, Moxie. He's got it.
All right, Paul. I appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you. I'll see you on the golf course. Bye.
Yeah, I can't wait. Appreciate that. There's Paul. I don't know what my index is fine right now, bro. I'm pumped. Absolutely thrilled to get back out on the golf course. And it's coming up soon, too. It's going to be here. It's going to be awesome. And I'm just looking forward to it. My current index, 10.3. I had it down to 8.2, but had a couple of rounds and went sideways. But that's it. I can't wait. I have a lesson tonight. I've had a couple of lessons recently working on short game, on chip shots and bump and runs. And I continue to work with Nick. And once the Blazer season's over, I am in 100%. I got 100 rounds in last year. I would like to get that number up to about 110. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm pumped, Paul. And we need to get out on the golf course together. That's what needs to happen. 503-248-0620. I do love everything about Mendoza's story. He took Indiana to an unbeaten national championship. And I thought he showed great toughness in the title game. Remember, he got a cheap shot right to the face, and he just got right back up and kept going. His ball placement is unique, and his mobility in college was terrific. I just want to see how those, physical traits are going to measure up in the NFL level. But I was uncertain about Joe Burrow with his arm strength. But Burrow, just like Mendoza, those are two of the greatest seasons of all time. And Burrow's been great. Burrow's accuracy and ball placement and pocket awareness is unmatched. Like, that's where Burrow really sets himself apart from his contemporaries. Like, he doesn't have the mobility of Patrick Mahomes, but his ability to navigate with his footwork in the pocket. And Manning was the same way, especially as he got older. Manning wasn't mobile at all. He couldn't scramble. But the footwork, same thing with Tom Brady, how to slide in the pocket, how to climb the pocket, how to maneuver in the pocket, and then deliver the football on time and on target. And maybe that's just going to be the case for Mendoza where, and we see this with certain guys, Drew Brees, who would be one of them, obviously Brady and Manning. Mahomes is unique because he's got the physical tools to do whatever he wants, but he's also got the smarts of understanding defenses and where to go with the football. But, if Mendoza is as smart as he appears to be, you know how it is with the mind, right? Where if you understand what the defense is trying to do and how to adjust at the line of scrimmage, and then you put the football on time and on target, then you're going to be fine. And a lot of these young guys now, it's different than when I grew up. A lot of quarterbacks would be drafted, and they wouldn't play right away. But I don't know if it's a combination of just, the infiltration of, more passing in college football. I think a lot of it has to do with the individual, training that quarterbacks are getting year-round now. With the specialized work, I think that helps. But these quarterbacks are coming into the NFL game much more prepared to jump in and take over. And then part of it, too, is that, coaches, you get some younger coaches in, more innovative minds, guys who are willing to have some of these college-type offenses in the NFL game. So that they're adjusting what they do to adapt to some of the players that are coming in. And going back to what Noah said, with the Vikings appearing to be done with J.J. McCarthy, that was a smart business decision by Kyler Murray to go to Minnesota because he's going to work with Coach O'Connell, one of the best quarterback coaches in the game. Their roster has playmakers. So Kyler Murray's got a chance to have a big-time year with the Vikings, working with one of the best quarterback coaches and offensive minds in the game, and then change the perception. Like, if you look at his numbers, Murray's been very productive throughout his NFL career, but he's got to change the way people perceive him through production. I think most importantly through preparation, because he is considered a guy that doesn't put in the necessary time study-wise to be as ready as he can be for games. And, in the NFL, it's all about, the work habits. When you show up, how much time you put in, how much film you watch, do you have a true understanding of the offense and what you're trying to do with the playbook? But more importantly, why you call the plays that you call to counteract what the defense is doing. The complexity level that these quarterbacks, what they deal with on a game-by-game basis is unreal. And that's why I appreciate the guys who, perform at that position at a high level because it's so hard and it's so demanding, and they have to understand so much. Like when I talk to Alex Brink and he's telling me about different plays and formations and personnel groupings and what these guys need to know and see and what you have to be able to recognize before you snap the football, I'm just like, I don't even know how they do it. I would walk out there and be so overloaded with information that I would just lie down and die. But these guys are able to take in the information, process it, and be able to make split-second decisions on where they're going to go with the football. Or if they're at the line of scrimmage and they see something change, recognize what's going on, and then change out of a pass play into a run play. Make sure that you're in the right play. A lot of quarterbacks are really good at that. Peyton Manning, as he got older and his body started to break down, he became a mastermind at manipulating the defense at the line of scrimmage and making sure that his team was in the best possible play to help succeed based on what the defense was showing and what he thought they were going to do. And I've talked about this before, but Aaron Rodgers, working in his early days with his defensive line coach, understanding defensive fronts and how to read them so that he would know after he snapped the ball based on the front where the defense was going to be on the back half. And that would allow him to turn his back to the line of scrimmage and play action and everything else. There's so much that goes on. These quarterbacks blow me away. And Mendoza, the reason why I want him to succeed is because he's a very likable guy. I love his story. Even though he is playing for a team that I despise in the Raiders, he's going to be really good. I mean, he's got the character and the work ethic. I just hope that it translates in the NFL. Telephone number 503-248-0620. We'll come back and head to Eugene. We're going to be joined by Matt Rickert, who is getting ready for the broadcast of the first Hops game as they get ready to take on the Emeralds. And then after this opening series against Eugene, they're coming home to open up a brand new ballpark that is done. And it's going to be exciting because it's beautiful out there. I mean, it is the state-of-the-art minor league facility now in all of baseball. All right, 503-248-0620. Matt Rickert's coming up next. You got the Rip City Drive.
Anybody can come, show up, and see some kids playing baseball. The complex serves the community by having that safe space for kids and families to come out and play baseball. During the spring and summer, it's all about Willamette Valley youth. When we get into the summer, that's where the tournaments are hosted. So teams are coming from all over the Pacific Northwest. It's fantastic for the community because that means people are coming from out of town, eating in restaurants, staying in hotels. They really get to experience what Eugene has to offer.
All right, coming up a few minutes after the Rip City Drive, we're going to head to Eugene, where the Hops are going to kick off their season against the Emeralds ahead of their home opener in their brand new ballpark. And joining us right now is the voice of the Hops, Matt Rickard. Matt, happy opening day, my friend.
Oh, thank you very much, Chad. Appreciate being on with you today. Beautiful day down here in the South Willamette Valley. And it is it's kind of a zoo here. It took a little longer than expected to get into the ballpark today. Normally early in the season, the crowd's not so large down here for Emeralds games. But for opening day, they have sold this place out, and they got here early today. And about half the crowd is decked out in Little League Baseball uniforms. They had a deal where the kids could meet the players and talk to them. So a lot of early arrivals and a traffic jam getting into the ballpark today. And everybody's excited for game one.
Well, you know, aside from the traffic and the mess you got to deal with, even though you're on the road in Eugene, there's still nothing quite like opening day, man. Just the way everything, the sights, the sounds, it's pretty special.
Yeah, you know, it feels like it's one of those sports days that should be a national holiday, like the opening of the NCAA tournament. I guess that would put two sports holidays a little too close in proximity. But, you know, it's one of those harbingers of spring, the first crack of the bat and pop the ball in the mitt. Just like the crocuses and the daffodils blooming and in the Northwest, you know, we're a birding family. So when the vultures and the ospreys show back up and you hear the juncos and trilling outside, you know, it's one of the harbingers of spring.
No, I agree. I love the sound of happy birds in the morning. It's a sign of better weather that's on the way. But for you, how special is it to kick off a season knowing in a few days you get a chance to be in a brand new ballpark, which is spectacular out in Hillsborough? I'm so excited to see it, Matt.
You know, I feel like a little kid when I go in there, and you know, it's funny because I've had multiple tours of the ballpark during the construction period, and then I've been in there a few times in the past week, and every time I'm in there, I think my eyes just widen by about double. And the Hops had their media day yesterday, and to kick things off, they introduced the new food products on offer. Now, the people who prepare the food there at the new ballpark, you know, it's the same folks, but they're working in. I mean, as big an upgrade as that ballpark is for the fan experience, for the cooks and caterers, they cannot believe their luck because they've got a full-size, state-of-the-art kitchen to work with now to do all the food prep and the cooking, and the ballpark food at the old yard was already well beyond the rest of our circuit. And they've taken it up a couple more levels.
You know, Matt, when I talked to KL a couple of days ago, and I asked him, I said, what's your favorite thing about the park after all the work that's gone in? And he said it was the attention to detail, like the little things you notice as you walk around. Would you agree with that assessment? If not, then what's your favorite part?
Absolutely. The little details really grab the eye. When you see the main, I'm stuck on food here again, but when you get to the main concession area, it's a wide space, and you've got concession stands on either side, long concession stands separated in two. There's drink towers facing both ways. You can go in and buy a souvenir cup and then go in and refill it as much as you want during the game. I was joking around that they're going to have to hire a soda pop policeman or something to keep people from. But just in that concession area, there's these long wooden tables, and they're really nice. I don't know what kind of wood it is, but they're and then you look up, and the light fixtures are fashioned into hop flowers or bulbs or whatever you call them. The hop, you know, like the barley logo. They had those custom made, so these green shades over the lights. All these beautiful little touches, and it's going to be fun for fans, new and old, to explore this ballpark and figure out where the best seats are. And, there's going to be a view of Mount Hood out beyond the right field fence on clear days. It's just a wonderful fan experience.
Gosh, that's so great. I can't wait to check it out and see it. And, I didn't know this until I was talking to Kale, but because of the facilities and how nice it is, he was saying that a lot of times players, it gives you a better chance to land better prospects who may want to be in Hillsborough because of the setup and the facilities for the rehab process.
Well, you look at these guys coming in, and not just the new guys to the team this year, but the returners, and they're as wide-eyed as they can't believe what they're seeing around them, especially guys who've been kicking around in the minors for a few years. A lot of the Latin American players who are maybe in their 5th or 6th years now that started out at the complex level. And if you don't know minor league baseball and the steps you have to take to get to the bigs, it is a grind when you start out on that bottom rung, playing in the backfields down in Phoenix in the dead of summer with nobody in the stands, 110 degrees outside, and all the games are played during the day. And then you get up here where everything's beautiful and green and temperate, and you explore not just the stadium itself, but the facilities, the locker rooms, the dugouts. I think it's better than some older major league parks.
Yeah. It's great. You know what I love about baseball? I love going to different ballparks, to check out a series or two throughout the season. And what I love about baseball that's different than a lot of NFL stadiums or the NBA arenas is that each ballpark is different and has its own character. And so what excites me when you and Kale talk about the details is that when you walk in, you'll know that you're in the Northwest and you'll know that it's home of the Hops, which is part of what makes baseball special to me.
Yeah, now it's been a first-class organization for the full ride we've been on. We're now in our 14th year, 13th season, 2013.
Wow. That's great.
The first year. Hard to believe, isn't it? I mean, God, that went fast. But yeah, it's almost embarrassing to compare our facility to the rest of our league.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. And, of course, our opponent tonight, Eugene, is searching for a new home. We'll see what kind of investment they put into their facility when they finally get it built, wherever that may end up being.
Well, what are the Hops looking like this year? What are some things to keep an eye on as the season gets underway? What are you seeing?
Well, the first thing you look for are the prospects, and Slade Caldwell is back. He joined the team midseason last year. He was drafted out of Jonesboro High School in Northwest Arkansas, first-rounder. Tore it up at the low A level at Visalia in the Cal League, and then didn't hit for a high average or a lot of power, but he showed a lot of tools while he was here. If you know Corbin Carroll, he's kind of cut from the same mold. Small in stature, but not a little guy at all. He's got this thick neck. He is muscular, very athletic, outstanding defensive center fielder. He showed that off in the Futures game last year. I don't know if you saw that, but he made a huge catch at the end of that game to rob Yankees prospect George Lombard and preserve the win for the National League in that game. So a plus defender, plus speed, and the Diamondbacks will be looking for a little more pop out of that bat this year, hopefully trying to follow in the footsteps of Corbin Carroll. And what a week for Hops alums, huh? Corbin Carroll, homers off Tarek Skubal in the first inning a couple of days ago, only run of the game. Zach Gallen outduels the likely AL Cy Young Award winner. Diamondbacks win that 1-0 sweep the Tigers series. Jose Fernandez, one of the best major league debuts we've seen in years, with 2 home runs, a double, including the go-ahead 3-run home run in his last at-bat in his Diamondbacks debut. And if you're a Mariners fan, you saw Jose Caballero. He's one of my favorite former Hops. Caballero played here, I think, in 22. And one of the rare times that a coach or manager came up to the broadcast and actually asked my opinion and really wanted to hear the answer about who I thought was the best player on the team. And I said at the time it was Caballero because, you didn't have one tool that stood out, but he just does everything well, and he's a pro. He's all business, and great to see him having success at the major league level. And now it's time for you all to come out and watch this year's group of Hops and see the next group of potential major league stars coming through.
Well, I can't wait, Matt. I appreciate your time. Have a great call and a great season, and I look forward to getting a chance to talk to you throughout the year, and hopefully I'll see you on Tuesday.
All right, Chad. Appreciate you having us on. Appreciate all you do for us.
You got it. There's Matt Rickert of the Hops. Big thanks to Michael Shacker. And, of course, our main man, Brian O, Fox Sports Radio. You guys have a great night. I'll be on tomorrow. Join me at Spirit Mountain Casino from noon until 3, and then we can settle in and watch the Final Four from your place to bet on college sports, Spirit Mountain Casino. I'll talk to you tomorrow. You guys have a great night.